Creative Chats Podcast with Mike Brennan. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Creative Chats. It's the podcast for artists, makers, and content creators where we talk about creativity, the creative process, and story. I'm your host, Mike Brennan. You can connect with me over on Instagram. I'm at MikeBone, and you can check out some of my work and connect with me on my website, which is mikebrennan.me. I'd love for you to be a part of our online community, which is found over on Facebook. It's a free Facebook community called Daily Creative Habit. And if you go to dailycreativehabit.com, there'll be a link right there for you to be able to simply just join and just get in community with other people who are creators, all types of creators, and people who are wanting to show up more consistently and just share their work and have a place to ask questions and journey alongside some people. Because let's face it, being a creator of any kind can be a lonely journey and process. So if that's you, head on over to dailycreativehabit.com, and I look forward to seeing you in the group today. I also want to extend to you the opportunity to get your own copy of my new book, which is called Make Fun a Habit. And this book came about because I started asking the question of what happened to all the fun, right? Like everything starts to get real heavy, real serious, real practical in a hurry. Those things are things that we tend to champion as we get older, efficiency and productivity and responsibility and all those kind of words, which are not bad, but we can really find ourselves in a place where fun has up and left the building, where suddenly we really can't remember the last time we actually had fun doing something, let alone on a regular basis. And so this book is my challenge to myself, first and foremost, to look at my days and see where can I inject some more fun and play back into my day, back into some of even the tasks that I have to do that maybe at face value aren't so fun. The book is 30 chapters that are really short, that give you a story, an illustration, some questions, and an exercise to put into practice. Because I want to inspire you, but also then equip you and give you a plan to put something in place, to take action. Because it's no good just leaving you feeling like you've been inspired, but then not knowing what to do about that. So you can get this book on Amazon. You can also go to makefunahabit.com, and I have some other resources there for you that are free, like a Spotify playlist of my fun music and a few other fun goodies that are free. And again, you can get a signed copy of the book from makefunahabit.com. And if you are, again, a Amazon subscriber to Amazon Prime, you have free shipping. You just prefer to go that route, you can get it from Amazon.com as well in paperback and hardcover. So I encourage you, head on over there now and grab your copy today and get some more fun in your life. Hey friends, I wanted to bring to you a special episode today. And it's something that isn't necessarily a lot of fun to talk about, but I think is really important. And that is seasonal depression as a creative person. I've noticed that many of my friends have taken to social media, and thank God they are willing to be vulnerable enough and share some of their experiences and just not bleed on other people, but talk about some of the challenges and some of the just ways that they're trying to get through this seasonal depression, some things that have helped them, and just talking about their experiences, honestly. I think normalizing a little bit more, because when you're experiencing this, it can feel like you're the only one. It's very isolating. And depression in and of itself makes you want to hide and can be very demotivating. And so there's a lot built into it, just experiencing depression, that can make you feel shameful, can make you feel like you don't want to connect with someone while you actually do, perhaps, but you want them to come and find you without you actually having to communicate sometimes. And so I think this is an important topic. And it's timely too, because quite honestly, I've shared about some of my struggles with mental health and depression in the past. That is how daily creative habit, my showing up every single day and doing some kind of creative act, some piece of art, started almost 12 years ago. It came out of this season of depression, of rock bottom for me, of a lot of just life circumstances that kind of conspired to be this very difficult season where I was suffering from something called dysthymia. And it's a form of depression that is circumstantial and makes you basically feel like you're trying to walk around life with a bag of rocks tied to your leg. Everything is difficult. Everything is cloudy and emotional, and it's hard. And so I had dealt with that in the past, and then had also, some bouts with depression when the pandemic hit and things shut down and connections with people were severed, and going through a pandemic divorce and dealing with a lot of loneliness. These very difficult circumstances that ushered back in this depression. And I found myself a couple of weeks ago actually in a place where some of the depression had returned and had been more of the seasonal depression effects. And, the days getting shorter, light not being available, and just not being able to do a lot of the things that I enjoy when it's nicer out, honestly. And so I just wanted to share some of my experiences that have been even recent, where, I had a really difficult time dealing with some things because of this seasonal depression. And it had not been this bad in a little while. And I had some people who were around me who were kind of concerned. And, I am someone who believes in therapy, and I have a therapist who I see regularly. And I try to check in with myself. I try to make sure that I set up certain things to be on guard against these things, against falling into depression again. And yet, even with that, mental health is not a static thing. It is something that you need to tend to. And even in tending to it, it's complicated. Sometimes there's medication that's needed. Sometimes there is extensive therapy that's needed. Sometimes there is, just a lot that goes into trying to understand and then have a diagnosis, and then also have some treatment ongoing, so that you can get health, and not live in a state of depression, of anxiety, of, and especially seasonal. It just is difficult. And so I'm seeing a lot of my friends posting and sharing their experiences and saying, it's these days have been hard for them. It's been hard for them to show up for regular everyday life, let alone their creative lives, right? Some of these friends are writers. Some of these friends are visual artists. And the challenges that go into, man, I have to get up today and I have to have a sense of purpose and motivation and inspiration and create something today that I feel like is valuable to me and will be valuable to other people. That can be a difficult thing. And when you're in this place of depression, it can seem impossible. And so, I just wanted to share a couple of things that have been helpful for me in the past and that I had to remind myself of more recently. And I'm hoping that this brings you some encouragement and perhaps some food for thought if you find yourself in a place right now with dealing with seasonal depression. And we're in the holiday season right now, which can also be a very difficult time. Sometimes there is, the season brings up all sorts of emotions and things to deal with. Having to go through the holiday season with the loss of a loved one, or the first year of a divorce, or maybe you were let go from your employment, or you had some other financial or health setback, relational stress and estrangement. There's so much that can be brought to the surface during the holidays. It's just a heightened season, and it can seem like we are living in contrast of all that's supposed to be merry and bright and happy and cheery, and what's really happening on the inside of us, which is sad and hard and can be quite challenging, to be honest. So some of the things that have helped me in the past, and honestly, again, that I have to remind myself of, really when it comes down to trying to get out of this place mentally, it's not helpful for me to be engaging in some kind of logical conversation. I'm not going to reason my way out of what I'm feeling, because some people, if they don't understand and even are well intentioned, can come alongside someone who is suffering from a seasonal depression and say, well, just snap out of it. Like, what's wrong? What's the problem? Just like, think different things. Like, do something different. Like, come on, like, get out of the state already. And that can lead to further just frustration, honestly, and feeling a lack of empathy from someone who might be expressing that to you if you're in the midst of feeling what you're feeling. And so it's not having these logical conversations even with yourself to say, well, I just need to think different thoughts right now, and tell myself the things that I'm thinking and the feelings that I have. I just need to move through these things and not believe lies, and so on and so forth. The thing that has been helpful for me has actually been action. It's been movement. It has been routines and habits. And yes, I talk about habits a lot, right? I mean, I'm the guy who is behind Daily Creative Habit. I also wrote a book, Make Fun a Habit. That's not by coincidence. Habits and routines are things that I have realized can make a huge difference in how we show up and how I show up. And it's in these routines and habits that can bring some regulating and can help us have a sense of what is normal and give us a sense of rhythm to our lives and our experiences. And so I realized that my recent bout with seasonal depression, my habits, some of them had gone, just been on pause, honestly. Some of my routines. For the longest time, I had been getting outside and going for long walks in the park, and not able to do that right now where I live because the temperatures dropped and the weather gets cold and gray, and snow will be appearing soon, which I hate, but it does not allow me to go enjoy walks outside and in nature. And so knowing that, I have to make sure that I switch gears to then go to the gym and get on a treadmill and keep moving my body in some way, because that needs to happen to help give a sense of routine and normalcy and fight against some of the seasonal depression that would be looking to find a foothold. So that's one of the things for me is movement, my body moving, even just getting up, taking a shower, going about my business, in my day. It's having a routine that I know when I get up, I'm going to do certain things in a certain way. People closest to me actually sometimes poke fun at me because they say, I have such a morning routine that I need to happen. And yes, it's a sense of security, it's a sense of normalcy for me, but it's important for me because there are certain things that I don't have to think about. I just simply get up and do. And so some of that is, getting up, taking a shower the first thing. It's making breakfast, typically some kind of eggs and some kind of bread, and coffee, and making sure I have a regular time where I'm journaling, right? Like if there's too much time that has gone by where I haven't journaled, where I haven't sat with myself and checked in, and written some things down, gotten it out of my head and onto a page, that can start to affect me. I notice that I start to feel off. And sure enough, this past season right now, right, this past couple of weeks, it had been a while because I had been traveling. There had been a lot of things that had disrupted my usual routines. And so I wasn't walking, I wasn't journaling, I wasn't doing a lot of the things that I would normally be doing in my routines that helped give that sense of structure and stability, and establishing the rhythms that we need in our lives. And so I needed to reconnect with that. I needed to make sure that I went back to some of those things that had gotten away from me, just simply because being in a season of travel and all the things, and I can make excuses, but I need to remember and prioritize for those routines, those habits, and those actions, because actions are the things that will get you unstuck, where you just say, what is the next thing that I need to do right now? Not like the next 10 things, not the next 15, not a huge project. What is the next thing, the next action I need to take right now? And so it's routines, it's habits, it's also prioritizing for self-care. And so self-care can look like a bunch of different things, depending upon who you are and how you're wired. It could look like, baths. It could look like meditation or reading. It can look like just doing something that feeds you. It's something that is taking care of yourself, instead of looking to tend to all the things that you need to do and all the people that you need to help in your life before you deal with yourself. It's prioritizing for your self-care and realizing, if I'm not taking care of me, I can't be showing up for other people by any means. And so it's important for me, and that also means creatively, right? Like you can't show up and write things or draw things or make music or execute ideas if you are in a place where you're not taking care of yourself. It simply will not happen. I've had other people who have said that it's really important to pay attention to light, more natural light exposure, to make sure that you can get yourself in a place where you're working with more natural light, where you're taking advantage of those opportunities to not just be in dark rooms, in windowless rooms, be someplace where you can have that light, that natural light intake. And there are even, certain technologies that can help with this. And I don't know a whole lot about this specific thing, but I know some friends who, they have certain types of lenses and glasses, or they have certain type of lights that they have, to block a certain type of light rays, even from computer monitors and from TVs, all the screens that we have in our lives. I think it's important to pay attention to these things. And honestly, sometimes it's also, allowing yourself to explore a new creative outlet, to try and experiment with a new form of something, an artistic expression, something that is not related to work that you do, but that is simply it's a place where you can go to just blow off steam, to not have pressure to create and have it tied to something monetarily, but that can help you process emotion even. One of the things that I have just started doing as of this week, I taken my guitar out of its case and I put it on a stand and I put it so it's easy for me to pick up and even just play for 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. And, there was a time when I was playing a lot. And then there was a time where I wasn't. And that time where I wasn't was very long. It got tucked away. I have music gear that, quite honestly, a lot of the stuff I need to sell because that season of my life has moved on. But having this one special guitar that I have, I need to pick it up because I realize that even over the past couple of days, as I'm just strumming some chords, as I'm interacting with the instrument, it's doing something to me. It's unlocking something in me that has been dormant for a while. And realizing that this can be a place that can be solely mine. I'm not going out playing gigs. I'm not being hired for things. I'm not creating music to sell. This is just something for enjoyment. This is something to regulate myself and to have self-care because I simply enjoy the sound of the guitar. I enjoy the process of engaging with this instrument and getting lost in some of the notes and some of the melodies and some of the magic, honestly, that happens when you just spend time alone with your instrument. And so for you, that might not be music. It might be something else. It might be painting. It might be drawing. It might be crocheting. It might be cooking. It might be a million different things. But sometimes it's just embracing that thing for the love of it and for a sense of enjoyment to help you with your mental health as a regular rhythm. And, all this stuff, it's so difficult to navigate this stuff on your own. And it's also difficult to open up, to confess to someone else, hey, I am struggling right now. Hey, I'm having thoughts that are just sad and down, and I'm having a lack of motivation of getting out of bed or engaging with the activities that I normally do. And I just want to pause for a moment and say, please seek counseling, seek therapy, seek professional help. There is nothing wrong with that. If you had a cold, if you were sick, you would go see a doctor. If you broke your leg or your arm, you would go see a doctor and you would get the care that you need to have. And then you would also enter into a season of healing. And that is important. It is normal and natural for that to happen when you are not well. And so whether we're talking physically or mentally, it's the same thing. We need to tend to ourselves and do it in such a way that we remove the shame, the stigma of there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my thoughts. There's something wrong that I can't wrap my head around. I can't seem to get a hold of on my own, and I need help. That is one of the most humbling things that you can do, is to utter those words, I need help. And I want to implore you, don't try and do it alone, because you cannot trust yourself when you're in this season of depression, when you're battling your thoughts and your emotions. There is too much inner turbulence going on, and you can't believe yourself. You can't trust yourself. And so invite some other trusted people in. Confess what it is that you are thinking and feeling. Have conversation around it. Shed light on it. And, especially if it's other creative friends, talk about it, because you would be surprised with the amount of creative people who do struggle with this, who struggle in silence because they think that they are the only ones. And that's part of why I'm having this episode, is because I want to voice this. I want to share this because I believe it will be helpful. I don't like talking about these things. I don't enjoy telling people that this is something that is not simply in the rearview mirror that I dealt with once in my life, but that I need to be watchful for. And there is something also about the fact that it's the rhythms of the calendar and of the seasons that bring some of this stuff on. And being aware of that and saying, how can I guard against this? How can I be proactive? How can I make sure that I'm checking in with myself, that I'm practicing self-care, that I have the habits and routines that are necessary, and that I'm taking action to battle so that I'm not just simply stuck in my head, overthinking, overfeeling, and then unmotivated and not able to show up for regular everyday life, let alone my creative life. And it can be an extra layer of pressure and stress when you make your livelihood from creativity, from creating for others, whether that's a copywriter or a designer, whatever creative role you may have. When you're doing that in service to someone else, there's the added layer of pressure that when you can't perform because you're battling with some mental health things, you're now feeling the weight of your livelihood being affected. And that is a very paralyzing place to be sometimes. And so I think that's why, even more so, we need to talk about these things. We need to take action. We need to seek help. And we need to invite others into this so that we can be proactive, so that we can be honest and vulnerable where it's appropriate, and we can take the actions that we need to help us to set the new routines, to understand more about ourselves, to understand more about what it is that we're experiencing, and understand more of what will be helpful in getting out of that place, and then keeping guard to make sure that we're not falling back into that place. And so I don't necessarily want to wrap this episode up with a bow, because that's not what this is. I said before, mental health is not static. It's not a thing that you deal with once, you get better, and then you move on. A lot of times it's something that you need to revisit. You need to keep in check. You need to have ongoing care and counsel. And I want to encourage you that if you are struggling with seasonal depression, if you're struggling with any of these things that is affecting you, and then secondarily affecting your creativity, that you do something about it. Don't simply just sit with your own thoughts, your own feelings. Take action. And maybe the first action you need to take today is to seek some kind of help, to reach out to someone else, which that feels like it's impossible. It feels like everything inside of you is pulling you back and telling you don't do it. Maybe your first action is to fight enough and to push yourself enough to actually reach out to someone and ask for help. And secondarily, I hope that taking action, routines, habits, thinking about natural light, dealing with some self-care things that you need to put into place, seeking the help that you need, like all these things, I hope that they all help you and put you in a place where you start to experience better health, better mental health, and that then it can affect your creativity as well, because you're able to show up more fully as you. And so if this is you, I see you. I hear you. You're not alone. As a matter of fact, there are many creative people that I know who are in the midst of this battle and this struggle today. And we are all showing up. And sometimes it's showing up today is all that you have the strength for. But I'm rooting for you. I love you. I want to encourage you to take the steps that you need to take today. And more than what you create, your value is in who you are. Don't lose that. Don't hide your identity or misplace your identity in what it is that you do, in what it is that you create, in your creative abilities, because you are so much more than that. And what you do, yes, is a gift for the world and is a gift for you, but more so, who you are is the bigger gift. So take care of you, because you're the only you that we've got. Thanks for listening today. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It really helps this podcast be seen and heard by others.